For this year's movie reviews, I will not be reviewing any films that I've seen between January 1st and February 15th because that was my break period. So now that I'm not on my period, this is the following are the 15 films that I have seen between February 16 up until now.
映画に行きたい気分です。楽しみにされています。
The first film is Lady in the Van. This is a true story, and they show the actual characters at the end. This old woman that started living out of her van, out of this old van. She actually owned two vans in this British, somewhat middle-class neighborhood, and she used to alternately park between houses, and the neighbors would either be for her being there or against her being there. And nobody knew quite who she was. She was just a vagrant woman living out of a unregistered, uninsured van. And she happened to make friends with a man who was living there by himself in that neighborhood. And he sort of felt sorry for her, but somewhat curious. He's an actual writer, so you can see where he got his curiosity about who this woman was. And as he researched deeper, he found out that this lady who was able to play piano and speak French, so she actually wasn't just a mysterious beggar. She did have a life previous to that time period. He actually found out that this elderly lady was in fact a nun who taught music and was forbidden by the strictness of these religious fanatic nuns not to ever play music again, so she lost that ability. And she was on the run because some man driving a motorcycle had run into her van and broke his neck. She blamed herself for it and thought she'd have to go to jail, so she was on the run and hiding because of that. And a police officer who knew she was feeling guilty about it was bribing her for any little money that she could get. This is quite an interwoven story. I would highly recommend that you pick this up on DVD. I think it's still playing in the theaters. This is a British film. I don't know if it's playing in the United States, but it is a world-class film and won many awards. It's been out since September. Lady in the Van. Zoolander II. I didn't know how quite to make out this film. I never saw the original Zoolander because it looked too stupid to me. This plays as a comedy, is very lighthearted. There's probably something in there for somebody. I mean, the audience was low, but those who were there were loyal following, I guess. Maybe it was because Ben Stiller was in this film and they were a fan of Ben Stiller, I don't know, but maybe because Owen Wilson was in this movie, I'm not sure. I found this film, having no previous experience with it, I found it awkward but interesting to watch. It's kind of like a movie you watch once and you don't ever care to ever see it again. So it's, I don't know, I wouldn't recommend it as a comedy. Unless you've seen the original, you'll probably like this one, but if you haven't seen the original, I wouldn't even bother with this one. How to Be Single. This is a film about four women who are seeking to be in relationships to a point, like Rebel Wilson. She's the really large British girl. Or is she Australian? I can't remember. I think she's Australian, maybe. She plays somewhat like a really wealthy, hiding her wealth girl who rips off the society around her and sleeps with any guy she feels like sleeping with. They don't mention how many diseases this girl must have and the risks she takes with that kind of behavior. But the other girls are all trying to establish some relationship. One girl just wants to be married, period. And she really pushes herself on guys, and the other girl is just getting out of a relationship. And she kind of wants back into that relationship because the guy kicked her out. And in typical male fashion, he's with another girl, but he decides that he really would like to feel sex with his ex again, so he comes back into her life for that purpose only. She thinks he's back to be permanent. That is so true to life. I've seen that happen many, many times. How to Be Single is very crude, very rough to watch. Rebel Wilson's character is kind of gross. So it's up to you. This was pretty much a chick flick, you can call it that. I was the only male in the audience in the theater watching this. They did laugh. The audience did laugh and enjoy themselves. Maybe you would like this on DVD rather than go to the theater if it's still playing. How to Be Single. Yeah, if you're looking for a quick laugh, this is your film. Norm of the North, a really interesting cartoon about a polar bear who is in the Arctic, and I guess he's thought to be too awkward to be the king of the North. His grandfather is actually the king of the North till he disappears. He's been kidnapped. And Norm decides that housing developments aren't for the Arctic and they shouldn't be here, so he decides to go after a real estate developer in New York City and convince this man not to build, or convince the people actually, more than this man, to not build unwanted housing in the Arctic and destroy the pristine beauty of the whole place. That's what this whole story is about. Norm does accomplish his task, but he's also rewarded by becoming king of the North. Would I recommend this? Yeah, this was an interesting film to watch. It was quite nice. Kids will like it. I know they'll like it. It's not a memorable film, but easy to understand, easy to pick up on, an interesting cartoon. I didn't find these little tiny mice-like creatures, the lemmings of the North, I didn't find them that interesting. They are there for comic relief, but they just don't work in this movie. So Norm in the North makes a great DVD gift for your child if you want, and I'd recommend going to see it. 999 is about police officers. The head police officer, in fact, who engages in committing acts of robbery against drug lords, the drug industry. So they rob, what is it, bank? What do they call those boxes? So they go commit robberies at banks, and a 999 is actually, if it 999 in the United States, if 999 is pronounced on the police officer's radio, it means that there's an officer being shot at or killed, and this would cause all the police just to drop what they're doing and go run to that one area, that one site, to capture the guy who murdered a police officer. I did find this rather interesting. Woody Harrelson plays the lead cop in here, and he's just as burnout and as crooked and evil and constantly smoking drugs and snorting coke, and it turns out that he's actually the head crook. And what happens is that this gang of cops and thieves decide that they don't want to pull any more of these heists, but the guys who are getting them to pull the heists have forced them to commit more heists, to commit robbery. And because one of them is a cop, the other, not the head cop, which is Woody Harrelson, but one of his underlings, decides that he's going to set this cop up and just kill him and kill the entire gang. Some of the gang members die. Would I recommend this? Yeah, this was quite an interesting film. I did enjoy watching. The session of it. I don't find that it played too long like other reviewers thought. 999 is a kind of like a bad cop story that you should probably enjoy, I think, if you're into that kind of thing. 10 Cloverfield Lane. It's about a man who, like, I can understand actually where this guy's coming from, this character. He is a control freak, and he decides that the end of the earth is going to come someday, it's going to happen, so he builds this somewhat underground bunker near his farmhouse. Or I think it might lead to below his farmhouse, I'm not sure, but it's completely secured and he's ready for anything. And eventually it does happen. There is an attack by aliens from space and he knows he's ready. This is his way of life. He's mentally prepared himself for this. Unfortunately, on his way to hide in his bunker, he smashes into this girl who just left her boyfriend. So, because he doesn't have time to rush her to the hospital, he takes her back to his compound and locks her in with him. The cause is good because the air outside is polluted. It's turning people into raging maniacs, and some sort of rotting disease epidemic is taking place, and he's got her safe inside the compound. She wants out. There's another guy in there. Building and begged to get in there, and he let him in. Eventually, the girl wants back out. She never wanted to be there in the first place. She wants to go out, but he can't let her out because he feels there might be a gas attack and disease epidemic going on out there, and he doesn't want to bring it into the shelter. And he did have experimental pigs outside to see what would happen to them. They all rotted. They just died and their flesh rotted. That was proof enough for him to keep the doors shut. She eventually makes her escape because he is a control freak. This is his kingdom. He is the master, the judge, jury, executioner, and the political elite in this compound. And he makes sure that they all know that. The guy who built the place, or helped him build the place, who's now in there, and the girl who he rescued. But she wants out and she escapes. After discovering that he had actually kidnapped a girl resembling his daughter who had left him in a divorce. He kidnapped this young girl, locked her in that place. Apparently she may have died in there, and she found this out, so she decides she's getting out of there. And she enlists the aid of the other guy that's in there, and it doesn't work out. They don't make it, but the main character here, played by John Goodman, he does commit a murder. He does shoot this guy in the head. He leaves her to live because she reminds him of his daughter, but he does kill the other guy because he did challenge his authority by trying to grab the gun, trying to get the gun from John Goodman's character. So yeah, this is exactly what would happen if you're going to challenge the authority of who owns the bunker and who's running the bunker. Then yeah, the guy who runs it has no choice but to not risk that happening a second time and contaminating his bunker. I mean, it's his rules, his laws, and if you're there, and he begged to be there, so he shot him in the head, disposed of the body. The alien attack continues on. You do get to see somewhat of an alien type of dog type of thing try to attack this girl after she escapes the bunker. The Goodman character, she kills him, gets out of the bunker, and away they go. The ending is kind of, I don't know if I'd call it disappointing, like a throwaway type ending, but that's what it felt like. I'm sure J.J. Abrams didn't mean it to be a throwaway ending. It's just showing the girls become more stronger through her experience, and she goes off to fight the aliens to join the holdouts who are actually winning against the aliens, to join up with them to fight. I do recommend this as an interesting adventure film. I think you will find this really cool, and it's not as horrible as it appears to be. Is it connected to the other Cloverfield movie? Yeah, I would say it is. 10 Cloverfield Lane. I recommend this one. Okay, Michael Moore's next movie. One of the greatest socialist filmmakers of all time, Michael Moore, came out with a movie called To Invade Next. It actually came out last September. Well, it actually came to a select audience last September. This is a really, really great movie. It's not about the United States invading anybody, as the title may suggest. It's about Michael Moore taking the United States to invade other countries to adopt and take over their socialist policies, freedom policies, equality policies, and adopt them into the United States, where they had actually originated and then got walked on and disappeared as the United States, but secretly on its way to becoming a fascist regime with corporations running the United States as their own corporation, and the unfairness and the inequality. And Michael Moore is bringing all that to a point in this movie, and it's giving the United States a chance to see what needs to be changed and how to change it and why it works in these other countries. This was a really great movie. I was going to go watch it twice, but they only played it for 2 weeks. This is a really great movie. I would suggest, if you are a socialist or you enjoy freedom, democracy, and equality, this is your movie. This is one I would buy on DVD. Highly recommend this at the theater if you can see it, if it's still playing. Zootopia. This is a quirky film. It's a film where humans don't exist and animals rule the world, and they act and they behave like humans. And anyway, this little rabbit girl who thinks she could be a really good cop. She's not as tough and big as the other cops, but she's smart, she's quick and fast, and she gets involved in this case where this political figure is trying to turn the predators back into being predators again, as an experiment to situation got out of hand, and they had to lock them up and make them disappear rather than kill them. And so she's on a case trying to find missing persons, and she discovers all this going on. This is a really, really well put together movie, well drawn, well written. There's a Fox character in here. He's a really cool guy, and I think this is more like an adult cartoon than a child cartoon, although you can get this for your children. I don't know if below the age of 5 they may become frightened by this, because some of these wild animals are quite intense when they become wild animals. I would recommend this as a gift for kids above the age of 5, or if you get a chance to see Zootopia, I think you'll like it very much. London Has Fallen. We once again see the President of the United States and his personal bodyguard, Gerard Butler, protecting the President of the United States, played by Aaron Eckhart, as they travel to London. This was so over the top. I mean, you're talking about an insurgent army, not just a few insurgents, like 5 or 6 guys. You're talking about an entire army sneaking into the heart of London, setting themselves up and getting ready to attack and take over the London government. The terrorists here are Arabs and are trying to elicit a revenge. They want to capture the president and they want to execute him on TV, which is why they try not to kill him, which is very far-fetched, because in the helicopter scene you'll see 3 helicopters taking off with the president, and as they try to escape and get out of London, and they get hit with a barrage of RPGs, and I think these are SAM, surface-to-air missiles. The helicopters have flares that pop out the back that the missiles will hit and explode with. Eventually the helicopters run out of these flares, and to protect the president from being killed, one helicopter turned sideways and took the direct hit. Typical of the United States Marines, just do your duty and get in there and get it done, and they knew they were going to get hit. They went down, they all died. That scene for me was very realistic, and it's actually what would happen. The president eventually gets shot down. His helicopter does go down. The president and the bodyguard do survive, and they have to run through London to try to escape being caught, and just as they're about to reach rescue and safety, they do get caught. Gerard Butler does make an exceptional and excellent bodyguard type in this film. And Aaron Eckhart does make a really great president, very believable, two very masculine men taking on this challenge and winning it. This is a really great movie, except for the beginning with armed insurgents and that many armed insurgents are not being found. That you really had to suspend your belief in reality if you're watching that part. I do recommend London Has Fallen as a fairly good action movie. If you're into 80s action movies, there's a lot of action here. It takes place frequently and action on top of action. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, based on the true story of a reporter who goes to Afghanistan to find out, just make film about Afghan topics, which aren't usually, well, at the time she went, they were like on the way down, as the topic goes in the news industry, so they were hoping she could pick it up. I found this movie was interesting to watch. I would never buy it on DVD, never see it twice. This is not a chick flick. There is one very frightening scene where the taxi lets her off in Afghanistan. It's at night. She's been out drinking, partying. How they managed to get these partying, drinking establishments, safe houses going in Afghanistan, which is this really staunch Muslim country. How they got that going, I have no friggin' clue, but there it was, and the taxi let her off after a big party in the middle of Afghanistan, and you could feel the fear in her when she realized she was at the wrong place. There was no other taxis, and she was stuck. But fortunately, her male counterpart showed up and picked her up off the street, took her home. Beyond that, it's an interesting look. As a movie, it's different. Let's say it's different. If you're looking for something different, this is a movie for you. I wasn't really that enthralled by it. Born to be Blue is about a jazz trumpeter who got hooked on an opiate, the name of which escapes me right now, but he's a trumpet player and he gets his teeth smashed out because he owes money to his drug supplier, and this takes place, I think it was the late 50s or early 50s. And this is based upon a true story of this trumpet player. And he just can't get off the heroin. He loves it so much. I mean, I've heard this many times before from other heroin addicts that they love it so much that they don't want to leave it. They just continue to allow heroin rule their lives, which this man did. And he lost his African-American girlfriend. I guess she may have been his wife. I think they might have gotten married, I'm not sure, but it's been a while since I've seen this film. But it's if you want to see the reality of what heroin can do and how people behave with it, you need to check this out. There's a lot of great music in this film. You see this man struggle with the broken teeth issue and how he fights against being told that he can never play the trumpet again, that'll never happen again, that he was so pristine and perfect in his trumpet playing, but without those teeth, front teeth, that was it for him, and how he fights back and how he reestablishes himself again in spite of the heroin. And this is a really great movie about addiction and victory, and he doesn't overcome the heroin, but he does overcome his difficulties with the heroin and with his teeth being smashed out to continue on as much a normal life as he could possibly lead, being a musician. Born to be Blue, do I recommend it? Yes, and I do recommend it as a DVD because there's a lot to be learned from this film. Next film in the series, Batman vs. Superman, The Dawn of Justice, the lead up to the Justice League. Be forewarned, do not blink at the last second before the end of this movie, because you will miss something very important. I have to admit I was very disappointed when I saw Wonder Woman appear in this film, in the trailers. Not in the film, but in the trailers. But the way they introduced her in this film, and her sheer magnificent presence and the beauty of this woman was just incredible. And because I kept picturing, they're going to hire somebody like Linda Carter, and oh my god, Linda Carter was like your mom is Wonder Woman, that type of thing. And so I had a bad feeling about this Wonder Woman that they were going to put in the Dawn of Justice. But I was greatly surprised that did not happen. Gal Gadot, who plays Wonder Woman, did an exceptionally good job. Which leads me to go against what the critics have said about the monster at the end of this film. They don't like this monster. Yeah, he was kind of corny, and Doomsday looked kind of much like the Thing from Fantastic Four, but only in green. But the purpose of the monster was to show us Wonder Woman's powers. The lasso, which Doomsday couldn't break through. He was completely enveloped and getting weak fighting the lasso. It was to prove Wonder Woman's ability with her bracelets that Doomsday's laser weapons couldn't penetrate these bracelets, and they couldn't penetrate her shield. And Wonder Woman, it shows how quick and agile she was, and how her sword could actually cut Doomsday to pieces, probably to the death, I'm not sure. But that was the purpose of having this monster in the end of the movie. It wasn't just to throw something in for everybody to look at and be amazed by. This was to show Wonder Woman for who she was and show her powers, because we've already had established Superman's powers and ability, Batman's powers and ability, etc. As far as Ben Affleck being used for to play the part of Batman, he did an exceptionally great job as Batman, and he looked superbly perfect as Bruce Wayne. Although I liked the original craziness of Bruce Wayne when it was played by the original Batman, played by Michael Keaton, showed us the real craziness of the Batman character. I think Michael Keaton was the best actor to play the lunatic side of Batman. You need to see this original Michael Keaton movie with Jack Nicholson as the Joker, and you could see the eyes, the way Michael Keaton holds his eyes, and when he sees the Joker for the first time, and he's walking through all these machine guns, and he's mesmerized by the violence. It's incredible. I don't get this type of craziness with the Ben Affleck persona of Batman, but I can imagine the violence aspect with Ben Affleck. He pulls that off quite well. Batman in this movie has become very much a revenge-centered human being, and he sees the criminals as better off dead than alive, and exercises his judgment to make sure that that's what happens. By he actually brands them with his bat symbol so that they would get killed in prison. But yeah, Ben Affleck just did a supreme job in this. A really great Batman. But Jesse Eisenberg character, I mean, they made up for him playing the villain by being the son of the original villain. They made up for that by Jesse Eisenberg playing Lex Luthor's son. But still, yeah, I could see the quirky craziness, but he seemed kind of weak as Lex Luthor's son, and I didn't like the end where he had this snot coming out of his nose, like the craziness of it all. There was a very weak ending when Batman thinks that they're going to need extra superheroes to battle what's coming next. They don't really elaborate on that too much. You do get to see files brought in on Wonder Woman and The Flash and Aquaman at the end of this film. As far as this movie goes, this is a really, really great Batman edition, and this is a Batman movie. This is not a Superman movie. I like the fact that Superman holds true to his nature and character even when fighting Batman, because he never wanted to fight Batman. He was just forced into it by Batman and by the Jesse Eisenberg character. So, Batman versus Superman plus Wonder Woman. Oh my God, you got to see Wonder Woman. She is so beautiful in this film. Alright. And highly recommend this if you're looking for a DVD gift for next year's Christmas presents. This would make a really great movie gift. My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2. This is a follow-up to My Big Fat Greek Wedding. It doesn't include the television show, which was a disaster. It's just about Greeks and dealing with, like the old man, the grandfather, the father of the family, the patriarch of the family, finds out that he isn't actually married to his wife, so they want to rehold the wedding, and the wife's a little bit hesitant. She doesn't seem like she wants to marry this guy now that she's gotten out of the wedding. Some of the audience in this movie were completely entranced by the old man, the way at the wedding when his wife stood him up and the look on his face. They just thought he was the cutest thing. I think they went way over the top with promoting themselves as being Greek, Greek this, Greek that, Greek that. It just went way too much. It was like the director trying to tell us, yeah, this is us. You've seen us before. This is what we do. This is us. It was way over the top and should have been leveled back some. But beyond that, it was a fairly decent, warm-hearted movie. Andrea Martin did a really great job as the sister. I really like the fact that she's has such a free attitude and not afraid to express how she feels or thinks about things. This is a fairly decent movie. You probably would never buy this in DVD unless you're a collector, and I liked it, but I would never see it twice. It's sort of like a film you go to if you want to just have a relaxing time. Boy, if there is any doubt that Helen Mirren is an exceptionally great actress, I mean, you should see this movie. She is so well adapted as being an actress. Excellent work. And also, we get to see the final performance of Alan Rickman. He played on the Harry Potter series as the baddie with the teacher who had the black hair and the very slow, deep voice. And also, he played the baddie on Die Hard with Bruce Willis, the original. Remember the guy with the goatee? And he was a German thief masquerading as a terrorist. This is his final film, and he did an excellent job in here. Eye in the Sky is really heartbreaking. If you cry a lot at movies, or you get really attached to characters in movies and they die, you want to bring some type of rag or something to wipe your eyes with, because this is really sad. Some of the intelligence pieces that you see employed in here while they try to hunt down the terrorists are actual real equipment being used, and it truly amazed the audience. They gasped and they were astounded. You could hear it in the audience. They were astounded by the intelligence equipment they were seeing being used in this film. But there is an adorable little girl. They start off, they want to capture this terrorist and send in troops, but they don't have enough troops. The terrorist is located within a compound, within a well-held area by the terrorist group. So they can't send in the troops to make the arrest right away, so they have to wait it out. But then something happens. 3 of the guys show up at this place, and now things get really important to capture these guys or take them out. Two of them are British nationals, one's an American. So the British and Americans are in this joint operation with using every tech equipment they can and you should see this tech equipment. It's just incredible. I would actually rate this as probably the best film I've seen so far in 2016. It's right on the edge. And there's this little girl in here, and she sells bread for her parents, and the father, he doesn't support the radicalism that's going around him, but he does love his daughter, and he's trying to teach her secretly underground mathematics and keep her intelligent and smart and her mind working well. in spite of the fact that this is a religious group that persecutes women. I should say a hijacked religion that they're basing it upon is fake. Their attitudes are fake, I should say. The religion's not fake. This sweet, adorable little girl, she gets in the way. She's selling bread on the outside the wall where the building is. And then something really bad happens. They notice that the terrorists are pulling out. They have an electronic device inside. It's just a little bug that they actually flew in, remote control wise, and set up a camera to watch what was going on inside. The terrorists are taking out explosive vests filled with some type of bomb. I don't know what type. Rods and rods of bombs. They're putting on the vests and they're making their suicide video that they're going to send to the world after they blow themselves up and kill many people. So now it becomes from a capture operation to a kill operation, and they want to send in a Hellfire missile to blow that site up. But unfortunately the little kid is on the outside of the wall selling her bread for her parents, and then in comes the conflict, and you see the division between attitudes between the American side and the British side. The British side, nobody wants to take responsibility for the perhaps death of this little girl. So they pass it down the chain of command, but in the American side they could, kill this girl, save 30 more. That's the issue here. Who the hell cares? Just fire the missile and get it over with. That's their attitude. These attitudes are true to life. You need to see this because they are distinctly and starkly different. The compound explosion in this movie is actually a real compound being blown up. And I believe that it was one of those you see those black and white pictures on the news where the compounds, where the vehicles are being hit by a Hellfire missile from a Raptor drone aircraft. Well, I believe that the compound in here is an actual compound, and that the drone hit in this film is actually real, and that it was computerized, and color was added, and high definition was added to superimpose it over this compound, or somehow put this compound as a matte painting into the film, because this was an actual real explosion. In this film, the little girl did not make it. She suffered a long time, and her father found her, and it was very hard for the audience to take. But as far as entertainment goes, this will hold you. This will definitely hold your attention, because you don't know if they're going to fire. You don't know up to the very last minute if that Hellfire missile is going to be sent at that building, and if these people are going to be blown up. They actually had to hit it twice because they tried to save the girl's life by firing the missile at a distance to a corner of the building, the far corner of the building, rather than directly into the room, dead center, to kill all the terrorists. Unfortunately, the female terrorist that they were looking for, the British nationalist, she did survive. They show her crawling through the rubble, so they hit her again, tore the head right off her body. You see her head laying in the rubble. It almost took out the parents, but there wasn't any rock wall left, so it was just smoke, dust, and a few rocks flying over the parents' head. The father did get hit in the head with a little bit of debris because it showed blood coming down the side of his head. But the parents, mother and father, picked up the little girl from the smoke and debris from the second explosion. They were there, but because they were on the ground at the time, they were saved from being killed again, which is exactly what would happen. And they rushed her to the hospital, and she didn't make it. Very much recommend this. You need to see this movie if you want to know what the war is all about. That accidents do happen, that there are casualties, that are accidents and not really meant to be. And also I like the fact that they showed the American who was flying the drone from the safety of the United States, how devastated he was, and how his commanding officer treated the situation like, well, this is just another day, we're going to need you again in 12 hours, come on back. So Eye in the Sky is an excellent movie. Probably one of the best I've seen in 2016. I think it would be the best. I'm not sure. It's just teeters on the brink of being the best so far. I highly recommend you see this movie. You need to know what the war is about and what it's like for these people, because this is so true to life. This is based on reality.